No one stands in my way.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another fighter showcase, and this time around we're gonna take a look at one of Marie's diamond variants, Heartless. Now, first of all, I'm just gonna give a big shout out to HVS for giving me access to this variant, so I do not actually have it in my main account. This is completely a separate account and a separate server, but they allow me to test her out just for content purposes, so I'm really excited to try her out with the moves that I have access to. So first of all, Heartless is an interesting variant because she's probably one of the most offensive Maries, with her first signature ability allowing her Skeletal Summons to deal 50% bonus damage and is unblockable when the opponent is below 50% health or at least suffering 3 debuffs. So once that threshold is fulfilled, she can start to deal quite a lot of damage, being more aggressive in her Skeletal Summons, allowing you to start combos quite easily and fast. Her second signature ability is quite interesting because it's the only ability where she becomes a support. So while she's alive, the last surviving opponent tags in with Hex, Heavy Bleed, and Quietus for 20 seconds each. Honestly, I think Marie is an interesting character because even though she has some offensive potential, I think her best role is really as an offensive support. So kind of like somewhere between Peacock and also Valentine, but instead of giving defensive buffs, she gives some offensive utility instead. So I'm really excited to test her out. I want to understand like what her niche is. Can we use her reliably as an offensive unit, or is she best to be just placed in the bench as a support? So without further ado, we're just gonna go straight into the gameplay. Okay, we're first starting slow here. This is prize fight streak about above 60, so we're facing against the highest possible defenders, not counting parallel realms of course, because we are relying a lot on debuffs and parallel realms is just not the mode to like test this out. So we need at least 3 debuffs, so I'm trying to use moves that gives me as much debuffs as I can, so that's why I use Merry Go Round to give me armor break, Hop to It for Heavy Bleed, and then Quietus from both the Hillguard moves. Sometimes Carbo Pummel can also be useful from the stun after a Quietus, so that all of these combination gives me a chance to inflict 3 debuffs to start wreaking havoc on the opponent before I whittle their HP down to 50%, and then I can start to just ignore the debuffs and just keep on spamming the blockbusters and the special moves that are Skeletal Summons. So here we look at the stats here. I'm putting a lot of attack and piercing, of course, because we are offensive variant, and a bit of meter gain, but in here I put a bit of crit rate and crit damage just to see the possible maximum attack potential. Now, we're gonna try this set first. As I mentioned, these are the moves that I chose with. Those are all mostly Skeletal Summons, and so in the fight here against Snakebite, I'm gonna use a blockbuster here to get rid of that blessing, although perhaps I don't even need it because of the Quietus. It gets reduced to below 50% quite fast, and I kill that Snakebite quite easily as well. I suppose it's not really a defensive variant, so there's not much going on there in terms of defenses. So once the opponent is in the corner, I'm trying to inflict as much debuffs as I can. Hop to It I found to be quite useful to kind of just trap the opponent, bait it into like attacking you before you start starting your combos. I'm still not super confident on when is best to use Hop to It, but sometimes it connects and I'm usually happy at that point. And in here, I use my Mortuary Charge, which just obliterates the Jin Frizz. So I decided to get rid of a bit of crit rate and crit damage just to have as much accuracy as possible, because so far we fought defenders where resistance wasn't really a problem, but we want to make sure that when the last vendor comes in, they do get inflicted with the 3 debuffs that we have from our second signature ability. So that's why I have accuracy as much as possible here, just to make sure we don't get countered by resistance. Normally, it's not really a problem because Quietus does remove resistance altogether, but for someone who just tags in, that could be a problem, and if they don't get 3 debuffs that we need, then it becomes a bit harder, because that's one of the core strength of using Heartless in the first place. So this fight is a good example, especially here because we actually have proper defenders this time in the form of Heavy Metal and Plot Twisted at the back. So we want to make sure that Heartless second signature ability activates so that Plot Twisted, when she comes in, she's probably gonna have resistance. She's still inflicted by the Hex Quietus, and Heavy Bleed so that we can kill her and she doesn't regenerate. Now the Heavy Metal is posing a bit of a problem here because of that armor, but thankfully we've got Hop to It and it's already unblockable below 50% health, so it's not really a problem. I actually quite like Hop to It as a way for you to start combos and to be quite aggressive while inflicting a heavy bleed, and you can start using your ground combo and chain it again with your other moves and blockbusters that you have in your arsenal. Snakebite comes in with invincibility. This shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to use Hilgard's blockbuster here to just get rid of it. We are in the costume party prize fight. It inflicts me with Quietus. I was hoping for a stun there from Carpal Pummel, but unfortunately did not get it. But Snakebite, I don't think this one is defensive too much, so it goes down pretty easily. Hop to it, finishing it. And finally, Plot Twist comes in, and nice, we got that Hex, and Mortuary Charge gets stacks of Enrage. We got 3 stacks of Enrage, 1 from the prize fight modifier, the other 2 from Marie's own character ability, which is great. Now Hop to It is gonna be a key move here to start my combos, and then I'm using Carpal Pummel, and finally a Hilgard Punch to kill her outright. Alright, so next we're facing Dream Band, Heavy Metal, and Plot Twisted, 3 very defensive variants. Now Dream Band especially, it's a bit problematic here because it does gain that immunity upon knockdown, making it a bit difficult to inflict debuffs and make our moves unblockable. Unfortunately, I also got hit by special disables twice in a row, making it a bit difficult to be aggressive, so I'm using Hilgard's Howl to get rid of it, and then my spellsters are all back online. After playing this set for a while, I'm starting to think that Hilgard Howl is not the best blockbuster ever. I think a second Haymaker actually makes more sense. There are scenarios where I feel like I would want to use a second Haymaker right here just to very quickly kill the Dream Band, inflict tons of damage, and then have my other specials ready to go. So I think one thing I would change is probably change the Hilgard Howl to a Hilgard's Haymaker. 2 of them would be pretty nice right here to have. I managed to inflict Heavy Bleed from the Hop to It. Again, pretty decent special move to actually bait the opponent. So if you didn't recognize that, Heavy Metal was attacking me, and then Hop to It comes to the rescue to inflict that Heavy Bleed. And now once the opponent is below 50%, I can use Hop to It in the corner and just tap my ground combo. Even though they're blocking, it will be unblockable once Hop to It connects. So Plot Twisted comes in, and again we do have that Hex, so we're not too worried here. We just need to kill him as fast as possible. That's why I'm using my Mortuary Charge to get that 2 stacks of Enrage and 92k on that Hilgard's Haymaker. That's really the move that will deal most of the damage right there. Hilgard's Howl unfortunately was very low there. It didn't do as much damage. Carpal Pummel actually does pretty decent damage as well. So for this fight, I decided to bring Dark Horse around because of her signature ability in granting 50% bonus damage to all Dark teammates. Just want to check Heartless damage here because I haven't been too impressed. Now, there are a couple reasons why that might be the case. First of all, the way I'm using Heartless so far, it might not be the most optimal in terms of DPS. I am using long chain combos, I'm using Hilgard's Howl. There's probably a moveset that incorporates Carpal Pummel, Hilgard's Haymaker, and Merry-Go-Round just to spam them continuously and deal a lot of damage, which are low hit count. Furthermore, I am investing more in accuracy instead of crit rate and crit damage, so that's another avenue where we're missing some of that damage potential right there. And lastly, she is only boasting 11k attack stat. Now that is pretty good, but it's definitely not the best or highest we've seen so far with all the other diamond variants. In terms of offensive output, of course there are better diamonds out there that can deal massive damage with probably less effort than Heartless. So that's why I brought Dark Horse here, just to kind of gauge how much 50% bonus damage is worth it, whether she can compare in the leagues of those more damage-oriented variants. So far from the fight here, we are not really facing any defensive variants here. Star Spangled and Snakebite, they probably don't have a lot of defensive and resistance being invested by the opponent. So I'm not really using this fight as an evidence, but just letting you know that I will be using Dark Horse from now on throughout the rest of this fight, just to, again, test this out a bit. So we're first starting off with facing triple Valentine node, so I don't think this is gonna be the best defensive team ever, but I'm using Dark Horse here to inflict curse and gain haste, and I'm using Carpal Pummel there after the Quietus to inflict stun, which gives me the right opportunity for Heartless to tag in safely without worry. And after that, she just does her thing to kill what were pretty fast. Now Trishik tags in, and I'm a bit confused on what to do here. I use a hop to it, which of course misses, and then I use a Hilgard Howl while Trishik was trying to attack me, giving me some options to do some basic combos there, and then I made a big misplay with the merry-go-round there. Thankfully, this Trishik only has 3 moves and tags me out instead, so I'm not dead just yet. So this was a big misplay, shouldn't have done that on my part. So Dark Horse tags in, inflicts the curse, and again, we're just trying to find a safe way to tags out now. So I'm using Quietus and then Carpal Pummel to again inflict that stun. Once that stun is inflicted, we can then tag in Heartless very safely. And I think that's quite a nice strat that you can use with Marie to tag in and out. So Assassin's Greed comes in again with that Hex, so we're quite safe here from her signature abilities. So now it's just a matter of trying to like deal as much damage as we can without having to worry about any blockbuster use at all. So Hilgard's Howl, unfortunately, she rolls an invincibility, so that is a bit problematic. So we gotta get rid of it. We're gonna use Carpal Pummel here, and very luckily we inflict Death Mark, and Mortuary Charge just absolutely obliterates her. Alright, so we're finally facing a proper defense team. Again, Dream Band, Heavy Metal, and Plot Twist. This is the exact same team that we faced last time. Not sure why this team comes up quite often, but thankfully we have Dark Horse now to inflict that curse, so Dream Band can't get immunity. And now we're just trying to find a safe way to tag in. Again, Quietus and Carpal Pummel with the stun allows Heartless to tag in quite safely. We then do what Heartless does best, which is to corner and pressure the opponent with unblockables in the corner, using all the Hilgard moves, and then Carpal Pummel again, inflicting that stun. Then we're using Hop to it here just to chip a bit more damage, getting that heavy bleed, which does not connect, so I guess this Dream Band does have some resistance. So with just a few more hits now, we're finally able to kill the Dream Band, and Heavy Metal tags in. Right now, we're just trying to find an opening to do some damage. Haymaker dealing quite good damage right there, and inflicting Quietus. Up to it, hopefully trying, yes, it connects, giving heavy bleed and a chance for us to start making combos. So Carpal Pummel and Haymaker dealing 53k, not the highest we've seen so far. Unfortunately, I did a misplay here with the Hop to it and get punished real hard with the BB3. Thankfully, we do have Killjoy in the back for the final stand so that we're not completely dead. Definitely not the best showcase and not the best gameplay either so far. And right now we're just trying to chip as much damage as we can on this Heavy Metal. We have passed through that 50% threshold, so now all our moves are unblockable. And with Hilgard Howl just to get another few chips in. Up to it as well just to get that heavy bleed. And hopefully this kills it. Yes, it does. Now Plot Twist tags in with the 3 debuffs courtesy of Marie's Heartless ability. And we get a Mortuary Charge to get some enraged stacks to increase our damage before finishing it off with a Hilgard Howl, Hop to it, and hopefully a Haymaker here followed by a Carpal Pummel. So we've seen how much Heartless can deal damage on her own. This time I'm gonna take a look at how she fares as a support variant. I think this is the best way to use Heartless, really more of a support in the bench. So we're gonna use Shadow Puppet here as our main damage dealer, and I'm still using Dark Horse because of that 50% bonus damage to all Dark teammates. So Shadow Puppet should be hopefully hitting hard here, and Heartless in the back is gonna make the final defender coming in pretty easy to kill off. So this is a pretty good example here where we have Immoral Fiber at the back as the last fighter, but we also have Splitting Image and Model Leader as a pretty annoying defender to face. So at this point, I'm trying to find the best way to tag Shadow Puppet in, trying to go with that stun strat again with Carpal Pummel. Unfortunately, Splitting Image did not get stunned, and I made a huge misplay here with Shadow Puppet getting hit on almost killed, but thankfully still alive due to Shadow Puppet's ability with the 5 stacks of Miasma. Splitting Image comes down pretty fast soon afterwards. I just need to just do a bit more damage right here. Just a few more clicks, a few more taps. Drill Tempered should do it right there. So now Model Leader comes in. I don't have any other failsafe here because I've used up the 5 Miasma stacks and from Shadow Puppet's ability. So now I'm going to use the grab to get as much damage as I can on the Model Leader while ignoring Auto Block. Drill Tempered here dealing pretty good damage, 16k for each hit. Not too bad, not too bad. Unfortunately getting the Auto Block there, so not dealing as much damage. Corner, dash attack, Another drill tempered. Hopefully this kills. Ah, so close. Not yet, not yet. Now that kills it. The modulator comes down, Immoral Fighter comes in with the Hex, so we don't have to worry about any explosion. This is particularly useful in Rifts especially, but I guess in prize fights it doesn't really matter since we're still left with like 3 fighters remaining. So without much else, I'm gonna kill this Immoral Fiber. Made another misplay, but thankfully we got blessings to be alive, and a Drill Tempered kills Immoral Fiber finally. Alright y'all, so I think that's gonna be the end of this video. Overall, I think Heartless is a pretty good variant to have. In terms of damage, she's definitely not the best, and I think there's a lot of other diamond variants that outclasses her in that regard. What she has to offer though, it is, aside from Marie's kit and abilities and Quietus, is her support ability in the bench to inflict that Hex. I think that's a really powerful niche to have as a support fighter in the bench, because you can have your main fighter doing their own thing without worry, and then when the last opponent tags in, they get inflicted with Hex, and that could be a huge time saver. You don't have to worry about much else. It's especially effective in Rift battles in double or triple nodes against defenders like, I don't know, Assassin's Greed, Model Leader, and even Immoral Fiber as well. But regardless of her offensive potential, I think in terms of Marie variant, she's definitely one of the stronger ones offensively, and one that can be used quite reliably to deal damage. She's not gonna melt teams as fast in really high prize fights, but she gets the job done with careful planning. There's definitely a moveset, I think, that can abuse Carpal Pummel and Hilgard Haymaker way more often, so that you're trying to deal as much DPS as possible. That is definitely an option to consider when playing with Heartless. That's gonna be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a great day ahead, and I'll see you in the next video.